All right. Well, you can now buy anime and guns again. So this comes from the FTC.org. Now this is from .org, so take it with a grain of salt. You know, government bias. The FTC chairman Andrew and Ferguson issues warning letters to CEOs of PayPal, Stripe, Visa, and Mastercard about debanking American consumers. Uh, Federal Trade Commission Chairman Andrew N. Ferguson sent letters today to, like it says today, it was like 3 days ago, to four major financial infrastructure platforms and payment providers, reminding them of their obligations to their customers under the FTC Act. The letter issued to the CEOs of PayPal, Stripe, Visa, and Mastercard raised concerns about publicity about raised concerns about publicly reported examples of financial service companies denying their customers access to services due to their political or religious views, and more, but we'll get to that later. Quote, full participation in commerce and public life necessarily requires that law abiding individuals can access and freely participate in our financial system, unquote, Chairman Ferguson wrote. Quote, it is inconsistent with American values to deny law abiding individuals the ability to run their legitimate businesses and feed their families because they attracted the ire of rogue American officials, overzealous activists, or more worryingly, foreign governments seeking to control public discourse. End quote. He continued, quote, that is why President Trump's August 7th, 2025 executive order on debanking makes clear that it is unacceptable to debank law abiding citizens due to political affiliations, religious beliefs, or lawful business activities. Unquote. The letters warn the companies that any act or practice of denying of deplat to or practice to deplatform consumers or deny them access to financial products or services, or to facilitate such conduct by other companies that is that is inconsistent with their terms of service or a customer's reasonable expectations may violate the FTC Act and could lead to the FTC investigation and potential enforcement action. The FTC in recent years has brought numerous enforcement actions against payment infrastructure platforms and related entities for unfair or deceptive practices, including misleading merchants about fees and contract terms and facilitating fraud on consumers, including through the means of card networks. View all warning letters at that site, whatever. The Federal Trade Commission works to promote competition and protect and educate consumers. The FTC will never deny money, make threats, tell you to transfer money, or promise you a prize. You can learn more about the consumer topics and report scams, fraud, and bad business practices online at blah blah blah. Okay, cool. So I know they talked about like your political affirmations or religious belief. But I also think, at least in my mind, because I'm on Steam, I remember there was like Steam removed a bunch of their adult content because Visa and Mastercard were threatening to like not allow access to you can't buy things on Steam
Hmm.
using those cards because they didn't like the games that were being purchased with those cards. Uh, I no, that you're there to provide the service. I use your card. You take a portion of the payments. I buy what I want. It's legal. Whatever. So, a couple things to keep in mind is a firm is considered a monopoly not just by its market share, but by its ability to keep others out. When a few dominant players control the means of exchange, their decision to deny service is not it's not a simple private transaction, but an exercise of market power that can quote cripple unquote the economy or a business. And they own like again PayPal, Stripe, Visa, Mastercard. Basically, I mean I know there's other stuff out there, but that's kind of it. Like I have a Dave account. That Dave account uses a Visa card. It's all of your most of your payments. I'd say probably about 95% of your payments are going through these four people. So they shouldn't be allowed to be like, hey, especially since they're under FTC rules, whatever. They shouldn't be allowed
Hmm.
to deny you a consumer things you want to buy, assuming it's legal. Just because they don't like it, that doesn't mean that they can't deny that of you. So it's kind of when I bring up the concept of like an oligarchy when it comes to businesses, kind of what I'm talking about. Not usually when I'm talking about like an oligarchy with business, it's usually for like price manipulation kind of stuff. Like I won't undercut your prices if you don't undercut mine, but this is just another example about that. And even it even states what's called later in the article that I have a note here. Capitalism without competition is not capitalism, and that's a quote from The Myth of Capitalism. In a highly concentrated market, dominant firms can set terms that participants must accept, which is a departure from the idealized state of capitalism, where individuals can make transactions on whatever they can mutually agree on. Uh, again, it's I did hear reports. This was like a year or two ago, but like they're thinking about making so that you can't buy guns with Visa and Mastercards. I already talked about how they were threatening Steam for their adult
Hmm.
content games. Um, anything else? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, going to like banks as a form of banks or really any financial system as a form of like rule enforcement. Like, oh, hey, we don't want banks interacting with, um, like, yeah, we don't like. For example, if you're Mastercard, having the capacity to sort of unilaterally go, I have made this decision. Let's say you're a big enough like bank like Mastercard or J.P. Morgan, and you choose to go. You know what? We don't want people buying, you know, baby formula or guns with our finance with through our system. So we're basically just going to say, hey, if you have a Mastercard, you can't do this. And like ostensibly, it's like, oh, okay, they're a private company, they have the ability to do that, blah blah blah. It's like kind of, because on the other side of that is like if you become ubiquitous enough or large enough, you are no longer like a small private entity who's allowed to make their own choices, and um the broader effects aren't going to like majorly like hit other parts of society. But like if a huge bank or multiple of them start going, no, we don't want our services to be used to purchase XYZ product, that can actually just be like straight up like suppression of like your rights. Like it's like, hey, we don't think you should be doing this. It's like, I don't care what you think. Your job is to take the money from one place and put it in another place. You like can theory because like in theory, right? If you wanted to basically like say that someone has right, your rights only exist insofar as you have the capacity to express them, right? So if you were to be like, hey, um, we're a company, but we don't want you know people buying like Buddhist religious devices. We're like the entire financial system is like, actually we don't want people buying Buddhist religious symbols using our stuff. It's like, well, hold on. Well, that now just Buddhists can't actually effectively engage in their religion. Or, hey, we don't want people to use our stuff to buy, communion wafers and stuff like that. We don't want to do that. It's like, well, hold on. This is like gone from small personal preference to potentially large scale rights infringement, um, that majorly prevents people from like acting on their rights. And this has always been like a huge back and forth in the financial sector. I remember years ago, there's a whole like it's the reason PayPal exists in the first place. Um, and same with like Venmo and a lot of the other stuff was because like people could use it basically for like payment for sex work, which I mean is I think illegal in the United States.
It is, yeah.
But like you could use it for that where it's like, okay, well hold on, how much responsibility does the financial system have to monitor what's being bought through them? Or is it just their job to kind of, are they sort of like in the IRS position where like you're allowed to sort of take record and take account, but it won't get reported? Or yeah, like it's a very touchy issue when it comes to financial large financial systems deciding what Americans can and cannot spend their money on, because they can very quickly go from small issue to, hey, you are fully suppressing this entire group's ability to exercise this right that they're allowed to do that you may not find personally enjoyable or
Oh,
flattering for your business model.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you brought up the point, like with the Buddhist symbol, like well, obviously when we think of a swastika, a lot of people think of the obviously the Nazis during World War II and the KKK, whatever. And but as I like to imagine, a lot of people know, but the more I'm on social media, the more I'm proven otherwise. It doesn't originate from what's it called, doesn't originate from Nazis during World
Germany.
War II. It stems from Buddhism, if I'm not mistaken. Like, there's a swastika and there's
Hmm.
the four dots. And on top of that, it's not even the same shape. You have to, if I'm not mistaken, you have to flip the swastika over make the uh, to make the Buddha symbol. But because it seems like a lot of people don't care, that means people who do actually understand Buddhism and stuff like that, and let's say Mastercard or Visa is like, you can't buy that. It looks too much like a swastika. Well, then now we just denied an entire religion
Hmm.
of their symbol, and that's very fascistic. Um, and that can lead to whole sorts of other things, like like if legal businesses are denied access to payment processing, they're essentially severed from like the modern marketplace. Whether it's like, I mean, maybe local's okay, but like obviously the goal is to reach international. You have people buying your product from all over the world, and then now you can't, just because people use a credit card service, which, let's be honest, they're just processing transactions. I can't imagine I can't think of the last time Visa or Mastercard, in my mind, did something for me that I would be like, yeah, that improved my life. I
Hmm.
can't think of one. Um, I have a in my mind, it was a funny note. And things like adult anime and like other desired goods and services, and the access to them, and the access to them creates a better life for everyone. Inefficiencies in turning inputs into outputs translates to a lower standard of living for a society as a whole. By mandating access to all legal businesses, the government aims to ensure that the volume of goods and services is not artificially suppressed by the Visa and Mastercard. I mainly say Visa and Mastercard. I haven't heard a lot of PayPal or Stripe denying Steam access or whatever, but anyways, it
Not to my
prevents them
knowledge.
from gatekeeping people's hard-earned money. At the end of the day, it's still your money. That they're just telling you what you can do with it, which is not good. uh, Again, very fascistic. Let's see. What were some notes I got on here? Let's see. Oh yeah, so I have a note right here. If access to the market is not rationed by prices or legal status, but by the quote disposition unquote of a few powerful firms, it replaces market coordination with a form of private planning that is it essentially proven to be less effective for society than automated price coordination. If you need an example, just look at communism from like the 50s to the late 90s. That communism, at least that economic idea of communism, uh, it was just I get it was mainly it's a bad idea because it lacked the rapid information processing that the corrective discipline of price coordinated and profit and loss systems have. Like I remember there was I forgot what it was. I don't think it was the leader of Russia or the Soviet Union, one of the two. Uh, I think it might have been like the head of their economic department or whatever. But they asked
Hmm.
Margaret Thatcher how they coordinated their markets and chose prices, because at the time, like Russia had a under communism had a special department for determining the prices of literally each and every item available
Hmm.
on the Russian market. And there is no way they could keep up with, what is popular, what isn't popular. And because of that, that
Or what's
means,
needed.
or what's needed, absolutely, yeah. So you hear stories about these like Russian cars that are sitting in warehouses to this day gathering rust because they made so much, but nobody was buying them, so that information wasn't relayed to the automotive makers. Well, I feel like they would know, but they didn't change anything about it. And they just didn't stop making them. So things that probably should have gone up in price have not. Things that should have dropped in price did not. And everyone was poor and starving. But they asked, Margaret Thatcher, and she's like, I don't do any. She was like, just essentially, she was like, I don't do anything. I let the businesses and the people decide for all that. And well, the money essentially flows where it needs to go. So there shouldn't be a higher form dictating what you, the consumer, and a business is selling you. As I assume, it's illegal. I will state
Mm-hmm.
that, but because that with communism, essentially, it's not gonna tell people or businesses where to start allocating their scarce resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so yay for not, yay for no
Woo.
fascism.
Yeah, it's bad when companies try to plan economies, and it's bad when or it's less efficient when companies try to plan economies, and it's less efficient when governments try to plan economies.
Yeah,
But it
you.
is more enriching for both parties to do so. So
Mm-hmm. So vote with your wallet, I guess. Um. All right. So the next one we
what's
got
good for
up.
the goose is bad for the gander.
Exactly. But the next one we got up is mortgage giant Fannie Mae will soon accept crypto-backed home buying loans. Let me get rid of this ad.
Excuse my visceral reaction to the idea of using crypto to buy a house.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get to that in a second.
I'm gonna pump. I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna buy my house. You don't understand. I own 1 million tokens of
Giffen
Noah House. Yeah, of Noah House purchase coin. It just hit a market valuation per coin of $10. I have $10 million.
Take it from
The
me.
market valuation is 10 mil. I would like to buy a $10 million house fully out of pocket. No mortgage.
uh,
Right now. Oh, you accept that? Awesome. All right, bye.
yeah, bye.
Oh, what happened? My coin tanked 2 days after the fact.
Not
Don't
my
know how to help
fault.
you. Don't know how to help you. That's not my problem
I
anymore.
already signed the papers.
Yeah, you've already got the papers, man. This is all legally. I did this. I didn't know it was gonna crash. How was I
Hmm.
supposed to know it was gonna crash?
Yeah, it's not
I
my
had
fault.
faith in the coin, man. I bought a house with it.
Yeah, I thought it was worth something. You thought it was
And
worth
you're telling,
something. We both thought it was worth
which
something.
is
That's
worth
gonna count for
something.
something.
And at the point of purchase, that's all that mattered.
So I'll take my deed.
So I'll take my deed and I'll go to my $1 million home, $10 million
Million
dollar
dollar
home
home.
in beautiful Malibu, California, away from all the poor people.
Fannie Mae is FNMA is set soon to begin accepting cryptocurrency-backed mortgages, according to an announcement on Thursday from mortgage originator Better Homes and Finance, and the crypto exchange Coinbase Global. Period. Um, Shares in Better Homes surged by as much as 12% after the announcement, before pulling back slightly. Okay, whatever. While Coinbase traded down at roughly 1.5%, mortgage-backed securities giant Fannie Mae slid through roughly 4.6% in the over-the-counter market, according to the Yahoo Finance data account. A new product launched by the two companies will allow individuals to originate mortgages with Better Home that conform to Fannie Mae standards while using Bitcoin or USD Coin for as collateral for the loan, the company said in a press release on Thursday. Individuals will apply for regular 15 or 30-year mortgages with Better that conform to Fannie Mae standards, but instead of paying a cash down payment, the home buyer will receive a separate loan backed by their Bitcoin or USDC holdings. The launch of the quote token-backed mortgage product unquote, better said, quote, marks the first time an AI native mortgage lender has used secure digital asset loans and the platform of a major crypto exchange to create a direct pathway from digital wealth to home ownership, unquote. Bull. The product, quote, empower Americans who own digital assets but lack sufficient down payment funds or prefer to keep down payment funds liquid to secure a home by pledging their tokenized assets as collateral, unquote, the company said. While the offering is not the first cryptocurrency mortgage product to reach the market, the Wall Street Journal reported, the involvement of Fannie Mae brings crypto products more into the mainstream financial system, as Fannie Mae is backed by the federal government and managed by the Federal Housing Finance Agency. Better said on Thursday that its new crypto backed mortgages will have, quote, no margin calls, end quote, and, quote, no top ups, end quote, noting that if the price of Bitcoin drops, the mortgage terms will remain stable with no additional collateral requirements, and, quote, market movements alone never trigger liquidation, unquote. Okay. The company also said that individuals pledging Bitcoin or USDC instead of paying cash down payment will only be at risk of liquidation in the event of a 60-day payment delinquency, which Better noted in a similar to current Fannie Mae conforming mortgage standards. In 2025, Redfin survey found that more than 10% of millennial and Gen Z homebuyers sold crypto holdings to fund their own down payment. Oh my, the journal reported. Quote, the ability to transform digital wealth into housing access is an exciting milestone in our mission to increase economic freedom, end quote. Max Brandsburg, head of consumer and business products at Coinbase, said in the press release. Token-backed mortgages are a major step in unlocking home ownership for the younger generations that have struggled with barriers to saving for a traditional down payment, end quote. Okay, well, I got a few problems with that. Now, to an extent, I will say I don't entirely dislike the concept of using mainly just Bitcoin, Ethereum, or I guess USD coin. I've never, like, as someone who looked a bit into crypto, owned some crypto, I've never put any money into USD coin, but the problem is, like, it's like they're essentially using that as collateral for the loan. If Bitcoin crashes, that's not much of a collateral. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think like last year or a year before, Bitcoin was hovering around $100,000. Recently, it dropped to $70,000 per coin. Uh, as if I was you know, a bank or mortgage loaner, that would make me nervous. I would hope these people would be paying back on time, because let's say they are delinquent and I decide to liquidate their assets. Yeah, it's great that I liquidated their assets, but it's worth half as much as I expected on paper. Now,
Aw.
yeah, I know, but my thing is, like, this is kind of in a weird way the mortgage-backed securities from 2007 2008 financial crisis, where in that case it was these insurance companies where insurance loan companies were bundling a bunch of people's loans together, you know, AA, AAA, and calling them AAA. Well, AAA is like the best quality. These people
Mm-hmm.
will pay back their loans. Uh, Putting them together, calling it AAA, and sending it off to the next bank or financial place that will buy it. Once they started to realize that, hey, most of these people are not actually AAA. Uh, we had the housing crash, and the stock market crash. I can't imagine. In my mind, this is essentially the same thing, because we're all basing this on the stability of an asset, a digital asset, that has been known to not be stable. Like,
Hmm.
don't get me wrong. Since like 2020, I remember at the time Bitcoin reached, I think it was 2020. Bitcoin reached, I think, $25,000, and my brother-in-law told me about it, and that's when I started looking into crypto and stuff because I'm like, why? I don't understand why people would pay that much money for ones and zeros. But then I'll admit I fell down the rabbit hole. But that was in 2020, and it
So it
jumped.
turns out the logic is so much worse than you thought.
Yeah, but it didn't stop me from buying crypto. I'll admit. But and then in the span of
Nothing
what's it
wrong
called?
with making some money off of some fools.
Oh yeah, I mean I did. I made money, for sure. Like I already told you about that one meme coin. I was like, I'll just
Hmm.
throw $15 towards it, and then like a year later, I totally forgot about it, because one of the crypto exchanges I was using was like, hey, we're about to close down. We recommend you liquidate your assets, and I'm like, okay. So I logged in and checked, and it got like almost $800. I'm like, I should have bought more. But anyways, but in the span of that 1 year of everyone looking into crypto, I'm part of the white sheep. Uh, it went from like 25,000 to like 69,000. Nice, and it would constantly fluctuate, essentially between those two numbers for about 2 years, and then it would slowly trickle its way up. And I think like
Hmm.
last year it hit $100,000, and now we're at, I don't know about now. I just remember reading reports that it was down to
Whoa.
like $69,000 again or something like that. And I was like, you know what I mean? Like when you think of what's it called? Your things you put your collateral. Generally, now I don't know anything about Fannie Mae. I don't know how they operate, but in their mind, crypto is stable enough to be considered as good collateral. Even though I think BlackRock, I saw on X, was like, yeah, we just outflowed like $250 million of Bitcoin. I don't see that as a good thing. Um, let's see. Let's see. I have a note here. Major market disruptions are often preceded by the introduction of a quote new financial contraption unquote that is poorly understood or sophisticated yet poorly understood. Historically, these contraptions tend to mutate when stressed. Bitcoin for sure. Pushing an already tend to mutate when stressed, pushing an already weakened financial system closer to the crisis. I mean, I, I don't see the difference. I mean, obviously I see a difference, but I don't see a
Hmm.
different outcome. You know what I mean? Like eventually, if, and again, we already talked about this like weeks ago. People are taking out payday loans just to make what's it called, make rent or make their payments.
Yep.
That what's called credit card debt is the highest it's ever been in this country. Unemployment is it still high? I'm pretty sure it's still high. People aren't hiring. Wages are stagnating as prices rise. Inflation rises. I again, I don't, we're not in the home business, so I can't say for certain. But it seems like these are red flags, and they're jumping on the only green flag. And I wouldn't even consider Bitcoin a green flag. But again, they would probably know better than I would. But it seems like like those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. I feel like we know our
Hmm.
history at this point, and we're still doomed to repeat it because eventually people are not going to be able to make their payments. Their assets are going to get liquidated, and then the banks who made, or the insurance, whatever, who made the bets on, oh, we'll take their Bitcoin, realizing that Bitcoin's dropped nearly 50% in its value in the span of like 2 weeks. I don't even know what you do.
Yep. Yeah,
In my
dude.
mind, I would be like, hey, we need to cut off Bitcoin as a collateral, and then that news gets out, then Bitcoin's price drops even further,
Yep.
and then now you get even less if they can't pay.
Hmm. Yeah, it's you know what it is? Here's the real secret. It's a giant money transfer machine, okay?
Oh yeah, dude.
It's a giant wealth transfer machine from poor saps who are dumb enough to buy a house using crypto to wealthy people. And really what it is what it's probably going to get used as is by businesses and really wealthy people to not have to pay real money for assets so they can acquire the asset at no personal cost to themselves um, by doing strategies. But basically, you can offload the cost onto like, a million morons who want to, buy some large sum of XYZ crypto thing. Um, and it's fairly risk free for you. And so you can just keep like taking out like, I mean, obviously you're probably not going to do it en masse, but this is like a anything to do with crypto to me is, or yeah, anything to do with crypto with me is just always, I'm immediately looking, this might be poisoned, but I'm immediately always looking for all right, what's how does this money get back to some like rich distributor or some rich, person on the back end of this who's just making an absolute killing off of like a bunch of poor morons who don't know any better.
Oh yeah,
The same thing with like
absolutely.
all the poly market stuff where it's like, okay, hold on, why are we allowed to bet on all this? Oh, it's so really, really wealthy people can wager absurdly large amounts of money on events that they have direct control over, totally unaccounted, and then execute events in the ways that they bet on and reap a profit. Oh, okay, yeah, now it's all clicking. Same thing with crypto. It's like, well, hold on, wait, it's like, oh yeah, the one or two small crypto scammers that get big are there to like bait people into the system, and then the rest is just like, hey, did you know the more you pump up the price of Bitcoin, the higher the valuation goes, the more, what is his name? Satoshi Nakamoto, parentheses, the Israeli government, or actually Jeffrey Epstein
Jeffrey Epstein himself, yeah.
makes. Yeah, like
Palm
it's
Beach Pete.
huh. Yeah, Palm Beach Pete, the go.
uh,
Yeah, that's and yeah, this feels just like oh, hey, Fannie Mae, I wanted to take out a housing loan on this, you know, $10.5 million mansion, and I've got this cryptocurrency that's backed by Bitcoin that's doing really well. I would like to, just so you can trust me, I'm going to put up the money, and I'm going to put up the money in crypto, but just, I'm going to collateralize a few of these things over here, like maybe a car and maybe a couple hundred maybe 100 grand or so. And so here you go. I'm trustworthy, but this house only actually cost me $10,000 because of the currency tanks. I only put like $10 into it anyway, blew that up to like $1 million, and now it's like, or actually I only put as much money in as it cost to create the tokens, as it cost to create the first like, you know, million tokens or 10,000 tokens. Blew those up to like 100K each through some like valuation nonsense, and yeah.
oh yeah, actually, and you brought up a good point about what's it called? Figuring out how this money essentially goes back to the rich people. Remember how I told you, like, I think it was like a week or 2 weeks ago. It wasn't on, it wasn't on like what we're doing now. It wasn't on an episode, but I was playing stonks, and one of the companies that I was invested in, they did a stock split where one stock essentially equal two stocks, which in the terms of the game means, well, not in the game, but also in real life, they've doubled the amount of stocks out there, which means the value of each of those stocks was cut in half. And I explained that the reason why, well, one of the major reasons why companies do that is because it's surging up, but the company doesn't believe its stock should be worth that much. Let's say it went for like the stock at the time right before they did the split was like $100 per stock, and a company's like, we don't think our product is actually worth $100 a stock. It's great that people view it that way, but if we keep it here, it's going to crash, and that negative press will drown it down even further. So what they'll do is they'll split the stock, make it $50 a share, because they believe our stock is more or less, we believe it's worth $50 a share. The goal is obviously to get to $100 a share, but if it's getting pumped for some reason, or a lot of people discover it, and a lot of purchases are being through. You know what I mean? It's not they. It's
Hmm.
$50. It got shot up to 100 because it's popularity. That's fine. Nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that.
but we prefer stability over
Oh no, no, oh no, no, no.
temporarily high
Oh
valuation.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what and there's a possibility for sure is that these rich people are like, Bitcoin's reaching a high. We don't want to pay that much for anymore. How can we essentially get the Bitcoin from these people? Let's talk to Fannie Mae or Better Homes, whatever, and tell people that they can use their Bitcoin as collateral. They don't care that the value's decreasing because they can essentially create the, like, oh, we all, because, oligarchy, I bring it up all the time, like, oh, we think Bitcoin's worth $150,000. But they know people can't pay their loans, credit card payments or delinquencies are going through the roof. So that's just a fast way to get the money from the people who can't pay their rent to the people, who want the Bitcoin, as you stated. It gets to
Hmm.
them, doesn't really cost them anything. Yeah, it might go down a bit, but if you hold the keys to the castle, you get to determine when the doors open. They can essentially set their own prices. So yeah, I mean that if I had to put a conspiracy theory hat on to that, that might be something that's going on. They know that you know there's probably a crash or something doom incoming. People can't pay their house, their payments. How can we extract the money? And something they could do for collateral is that, like, well, the first thing they do is they take the Bitcoin before it crashes, and then they start taking the other stuff. Your car
Hmm.
or then your home itself. It's a it's an idea. I don't know how well that works as an idea, but it's an idea. And a reoccurring theme in market crashes is an over reliance on new financial tools that market participants are overly confident they understand, aka Bitcoin. Like, for example, as someone who was like into Bitcoin, I'm not really into Bitcoin. I was into crypto. I thought that it was this is a fun little gimmick. I can throw like $20 and watch it go up and take profits as I see fit. But I don't like, for example, like they said like 10% of millennials and Gen Z sold their crypto to pay for the loans. Give me one second. Let's see if I can find that word. Please stop with the ads. Two companies, whatever. Digital assets. First time. Yeah, 10% of millennials and Gen Z homebuyers sold crypto holdings to help fund their down payments. Like
Ten
now,
percent is crazy.
yeah, that's crazy. So it kind of, now granted, I can't entirely blame them because the point of cryptocurrency is supposed to be like another form of currency that is essentially off the government chain and that's one of the reasons why I was into crypto. It's like, oh, I don't like the government, whatever. Which to an extent I kind of get, but like you don't hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I sold 20% of my stock portfolio so I can put a down payment on a house." No, because it's not. I mean, you're not supposed to view stocks as like a form of payment. I mean, to an extent, I can't blame them. Cryptocurrency is meant to fill that hole, but besides Bitcoin, which it uses, and Ethereum, everything else, in my opinion, or at least 98% of the rest, is just kind of hoping for a pump. You know what I mean? That's what
Hmm.
they're all is. I wouldn't view them as something you should hold stake in or something you should be like, oh yeah, I'll pay with it. Whatever. I know Elon Musk was trying to get Doge. You had to use Doge to charge your electric cars at one of the charging stations. I don't know where that went. That was probably the closest anything else got to like an actual like kind of currency. But 10% of millennials and Gen Z sold crypto. Like, I still have crypto. I'm not selling it. I don't view it as a type of
Sell crypto to buy my house.
to buy
Wow.
my.
Well,
I wouldn't sell
why would I
crypto.
give up a stable investment like that
I mean, I don't think they
for
use
such a
this.
volatile
I
asset?
mean, like, but like, I wouldn't like if I sold it. It was because I was taking profits off it, not because I need to make rent. I want the down payment on a house that I may or may not be able to afford, that may already
Hmm.
get liquidated, or taken as collateral. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather keep that as a possible investment than like and then sell for profit than just here's my Bitcoin what's it called Coinbase credit card that's got my Bitcoin on it. Here, use that. I wouldn't be doing that. I'd rather hold on and take profit as needed. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's, how do I put this? Well, I do believe crypto is, uh, again, I would really only view Bitcoin and Ethereum, maybe Doge, and even then I'm on Doge as like I would treat them more like stocks. I wouldn't sell stocks to make a payment. I wouldn't sell stocks to make my car payment or my rent unless I was absolutely desperate. I'd rather hold on to it and wait for profit. Now granted, if 10% of millennials and Gen Z thought that Bitcoin was going to crash in the next couple of years, and that's why they sold it. Yep, fine, fair. Take your profits or cut your losses. Fair, but I don't. At least the way it's being written here in this article, it just seems like they sold their Bitcoin so they could as another transaction. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Am I making sense? Am I sounding weird? I'm probably
Hmm.
sounding weird. Um,
I understand.
and yeah, like of course, no, of course, like this is also what happens. And one, it happened 2007, 2008 financial crisis with the housing crash, but also still happens to this day. Banks often create risky debt and then sell it to someone else, and that way they've made their profit, and then now that
Hmm.
risk is the risk of the loan or the liquidation or defaulting, whatever, is put onto someone else's balance sheet, and their job is to make their profit and then send it to somebody else. That's what was the main problem with the
If you want to learn
mortgage
more
backed.
about this, go watch the movie The Big Short.
Exactly, but that's the process, and it kind of seems like that's where we're getting at. Take on these people who put Bitcoin as liquid as part of their collateral, make your profit, send it to somebody else. I mean, if history's doomed to repeat itself, I can't imagine. I mean, one, things aren't already going well in this economy. The war doesn't seem to be ramping down. Inflation's going up. I think I just read a tweet or quote, whatever, that said the Strait of Hormuz is still closed, so that's not
Yeah.
opening up. I think I saw somewhere like 20 more nations are sending their fleets to the Strait of Hormuz. So that's in my mind that's a world war already. That the whole world's involved.
Hmm.
So and then wages are stagnating, prices are going up because of the other economic factors. I don't see how this isn't at least part of it. Wow, we don't have a repeat of 2007, 2008. Give me a second. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, excuse me. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like we've
No,
already
I'm
put all
like,
the ingredients together. Now we just have to bake the cake.
yeah,
So yeah.
it's 2008 all over again, both crypto.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People think they know
Welcome.
what they're doing and they don't.
You guys will love the movie that comes out about this in like 2028, 2029, when the whole cycle's repeated, and they're gonna call it the bigger short.
The
Okay.
bigger short.
The
the
bigger
hot
shorter is what they're gonna call it.
the Haktua coin.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. That's gonna be it for.
but speaking of everything else going down the hill, um, from Yahoo Finance, almost everything is going wrong for markets right now. Da, 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 da. Stocks came into 2026 riding AI momentum, a more stable trade environment, in hopes of lower interest rates. The S&P 500 hit record high in late January. Within two with 2 trading days left in the first quarter, the situation looks significantly more challenging. The stock market looks broken, and it's far from clear as to how to fix it. Well, in the short term, there's a lot of things you can do for the long term, but short term is what people want. The S&P 500 is down over 7% for the year. The Nasdaq is in correction territory. The VIX, also known as Wall Street's quote fear index quote, is trading at its highest level in a year, cresting the 30 mark. Bond yields are soaring. Gold is off $500 from its record high reached in January. Bitcoin is languishing near 65,000. Okay, so it's even less than what I thought. $65,000 per coin. International stocks are underperforming US stocks once again, and markets have taken the possibility of rate cuts this year completely off the table. A rate hike in 2026 now seems more likely than a cut. Geopolitical headlines continue to overwhelm the news flow, but this week seemed to arc toward either outcome of the energy front, and experts from inside the industry still think the risks from this conflict are being understated by markets. For the past 3 years, stock market bulls have led multiple levers to had well sorry stock market bulls have had multiple levers to pull to make their case. AI spending, earnings growth, and lower rates, chief among them. In 2026, these catalysts have lost their juice, and so many of the new developments across investors' radars, software getting replaced by AI agents, private credit private credit funds getting gating redemptions, have simply added to growth list of negatives. There is a Warren Buffett quote for every market environment. Many readers breezing through this gloomy summary of the market will be quick to pull one of the most famous quotes. Well, the most famous quote, "Be greedy when others are fearful." Quote. On Thursday, one of our favorite market voices, Truist, or one of our favorite. Okay, so finance, you have finance. Truist Wealth Chief Investor Officer Keith Lerner did did just the did just about this, telling clients in note that quote measured cash deployment is warranted unquote. This is wealth advisor speak for quote don't be afraid of the shock market unquote. Uh, Torsten Slock, chief economist at Apollo, argued the market's reaction to the U.S. Iran conflict is an overreaction. Disclosure: Yahoo is a portfolio company of funds managed by affiliates of Apollo Global Management. Okay. Quote: Markets are overreacting to what is likely a 4 to 6 week period of volatility, which has ultimately resulted in 50 years, which will ultimately result in 50 years of stability in oil market, supply chains, and geopolitics, unquote, Sloak wrote. In his view, inflation rate will be temporary. Temporary. Rates will head the rates will head lower, and the AI tailwind for the U.S. economy won't be taken off course by this conflict. An outlook of what's happening in markets right now doesn't have much good to offer, but putting it all down in one place does offer a glimpse of what is needed to turn things around. And the Slock outcome, let's call it, says that what risk assets the stock market, Bitcoin, etc., need to see in order to work again is at minimum stabilizing oil prices, preferably a decline in oil prices. Until then, we hold. Yeah, no bull. Obviously, I know they. I didn't. Obviously, I don't really read the articles beforehand. I just take notes on what I think. But they mentioned about like AI not being affected. We did an article last week about how the helium itself is already causing problems for what's it called, RAM or chip production, which is ultimately affecting the AI circuit. Second of all, you and I also believe that AI is probably a bubble. People are overconfident in essentially software that they don't fully understand, and they're replacing their own employees with AI. And then I think somewhere I read somewhere that the like at least one company fired a bunch of people, replaced it with AI, then had to hire people back because the AI wasn't doing everything it needed to do. That might be a sign, if I had to guess anything. Um, Now I can't entirely fault the what's it called? Uh, they quote Warren Buffett with his what's it called? Let me look for it up. Oh yeah, be greedy when others are fearful. That's standard. Like,
Oh, I thought you were gonna do the the panic right now, sell everything, panic.
no. But I mean, in my mind, unless there's a world war, unless there's a world war, if you're holding for the long term, you should be holding, um, because again, the stock market has never dipped and never recovered. It has always surpassed its highest, and it's done that since like the
Ever,
start of our
since it
stock
was a
market.
thing.
Yeah, since it was a thing. Because people need to buy stuff. People need to have businesses. Uh, that's essentially what it is. As long as people are buying stuff, there's
When you
gonna be a
invest,
market. But
when you invest in the stock market for the long term, you are investing in the will of humanity itself.
essentially, yeah. But
Ancient Japanese proverb that I made up right now.
Confucius probably. Uh,
Confucius, most likely.
most likely. But yeah. And again, now that might be speculating on the fact that if there's the world ends, then yeah, sure, sell your stock now so you can buy enough alcohol and drugs that you don't feel the problems. But not financial advice. I mean, I can't fault the whole be greedy when others are fearful. Heck, you know me, when I play stonks, what do? Buy the dip. Like, it's my favorite thing.
Right?
It's
Always.
always buy the dip. Because worst case scenario, some markets, some stocks don't make it, and others will essentially eat my loss for me. I don't have to. But again, back to my notes here. So this whole everything's going negative. This represents a massive quote internal reassessment quote of value driven by profit loss by the profit loss system. In a market economy, prices act as messengers conveying bad news. When sellers exceed buyers and paper profits begin to disappear, it often triggers an immediate stampede to save what remains. These declines suggest that valuations may be the lost touch of with actual earnings, similar to previous debt-based bubbles, where wealth is destroyed as the market corrects for an overvaluation. I, I mean, I'm not entirely against that. Um, Again, we see decline and all this stuff. That just it's essentially because we live in a price coordinated economy. Um, it's just what we see here: S&P 500 down 7%, Nasdaq is in correction territory, VIX is the fear index is up. It all this is just telling the general public, hey, we think something is going down. We're yelling timber, like, and the people who do
You better
trade,
move, you better dance.
yeah, like. Oh, sorry, I was trying to think of the rest of the lyrics. But anyways, it's them
Let's
telling.
make a night you won't remember.
Oh, is that it? Oh,
I'll be the one you won't forget.
I just don't listen. I just don't listen to music much anymore. At least not as often as I used to. But it's just telling the rest of the people, like, hey, we think something's gonna happen. We're holding our earnings. That way, A, we have money in case something happens. And B, we'll probably just buy the dip, maybe. Um. What else? What else was I gonna say? Oh man, I forgot. So yeah, actually, so fun fact, this VIX thing, I just recently learned about. I didn't know that it's the fear index. I don't entirely know what cresting to the 30 mark is, but that sounds scary, I guess. But again, if you're holding for the long term, if anything, if you're holding for the long term, now might be the best time to buy. Because Because again,
Mm-hmm.
like we've never stayed at the bottom. There may be times we stayed at the bottom for a bit, but never forever. We've always surpassed our highs. And as I stated, I've been stating this for like a month now. But with how much it seems like a lot of people are more into investing in stocks. Now, granted, that might just be my algorithm. That might just be, you know, YouTube, TikTok, X, whatever, putting me with other people who are, like me. I'll admit that. But
Mm-hmm.
it seems like a lot of people are more into investing. 10% of Gen Z and millennials sold crypto. So at least 10% are into that kind of stuff. But they might view it the same way I do. Buy the dip. But again, this advice, one, it's not advice. I lied. It's not advice, but not for day traders or financial or investment firms. Mm, they'll have to work with what they got here. But for the long term people, this isn't a problem. The soaring bond yields are a direct result of falling bond prices as the two move in direct opposite directions. This trend typically reflects the market's response to the Federal Reserve's effort to, quote, crush inflation, unquote, by raising interest rates. However, for the past 12 months, interest rates have been slowly drifting downward. This could indicate that investors believe that there will be rising interest rates in the future if the war in Iran persists. Okay, yeah, so, I don't even know where I was gonna go with that. So now let's make the assumption that the war in Iran is gonna persist for a while. Iran and all the oil places over there are gonna see the 40 nations take control of the Strait of Hormuz, and they're gonna dig in their mountains. Fine, whatever. We've got So that means the economy is essentially going to trickle down a bit more because 20% of the oil of the world's energy is not going where it needs to. The helium is not making the AI chips, even though we just got a what's it called? Didn't Google just make something where like their chips are more effective, so RAM prices dropped, whatever. Um, so one, chip manufacturing's on a halt, not a halt, but an issue. It's gonna slow. It's gonna slow down. AI is probably going to slow down a bit more because they're not producing enough chips. B, we already have we believe at least there's an AI bubble coming at least around towards the end of the year, so not very good economically. So the current volatility places the Federal Reserve in a, quote, monumentally bad, unquote, position where it must choose between two choices. Okay, got two choices. A, they can fight inflation, tightening monetary policy to stand against inflation, which which already worsens stagnation and risks a deeper recession, or B, supporting the economy, easing policy to fight unemployment, which exacerbates the inflation problem and further devalues the currency. With how much it says here that bonds are soaring. My money is that a lot of these people know, or they're making a huge bet on the fact that we're probably going to get some rising interest rates,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know how
Yeah.
that. No, sorry, continue.
No, it's. I agree. It's the we're. You just got to bet on the long term. You probably okay. Most people who are one listening to this,
If you are listening to this, thank you.
yeah, most people who are listening to this probably aren't making enough money to where they're living off of their investments to where stuff like this would seriously affect their quality of life. It's probably for long term, like retirement funding. Um, so if that's the case, man, listen, if the stock market crashes or the stock market like dies, like dead and gone, we have so many bigger issues than whatever might be happening 30, 40, 50 years from now that it's not a problem anymore.
Oh yeah,
And
you
if
ain't
it
got to worry about it.
survives, well, hey, that's great. We're back to where we were, and you don't have to worry about it. Investing in the long term is the safest bet. All right. In the words of George Soros, panic right now, sell everything, freak the fuck out. So yeah, it's even if things look like yeah the sort of like we've got all the oral stuff going on right now, but like similar. Obviously, we're going to see a worse. I think people were predicting there's going to be a worse oil shock than what happened in the 70s. Um, but we're also reliant on oil in different ways now. I think we're more reliant, but the reliance is more diffuse. Like
Mm-hmm.
the kind of reliance that we're experiencing is less direct to the specific consumer, so you're going to get hit by it, and maybe not as like viscerally as a way as they did in the 70s. But you might, like, obviously it's going to hit your gas prices pretty hard. Um, but like I think just in general, people are going to just. I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to make it out of this, even if it's going to suck for a while.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know, like we like last time or the time before we talked about how the Black I think it was BlackRock CEO stated that if oil hits $150 a barrel, going to be global recession. And I think, granted, it's X, take it with a grain of salt. But I think I just got a report or like a notification that said that they're speculating that oil's going to hit $200 a barrel, which is a little less than double what it is right now. If I'm if it's still $100 a barrel, it's double. But again, we will recover. Probably. Again, like you said, it'll take time. But if you're in it for the long haul, either you're in it for the long haul, or we never have to worry about it again. Start stressing about how to start farming.
Hmm.
So get some almanacs or survival books, if anything. If you don't think the market's gonna survive this, then get some farming books. How to live off the wilderness.
How to live off the wilderness. Step one. It's so much harder than you think.
Oh,
You
absolutely,
can't
dude.
even begin to imagine.
Oh, I know, dude. Like when I was younger, I had to live with my grandparents during the summers a lot of the time, and granted they didn't farm to survive. They farmed and had enough that they would go into town and sell their excess crops. That's fine. But oh my god, one, it sucked. Two, you have to do it a certain way, cause now I learned this at a young age, but I don't think a lot of people know this. You don't plant all your crops at one time. That's stupid because all your crops are going to grow at the same time, and you can't eat all of your crops at the same time, so all of your food's going to go bad. You generally want to plant your crops 1 week apart from each other. So ideas like row one is okay. We're off the economic stuff. So hold on a second. Well, I mean it's economics. Economics was like Greek for like house management, whatever. Row one is week one. Row two is week two, and week one is all the food you would eat in a week. And then that's how you would do it. So you don't. Not granted, I'm not talking about industrial farmers. I'm talking about personal farming. But that's why you don't plant all your crops at one time. Apparently, a lot of people didn't know that. I learned that at a young age. Well, that's whatever. So you can take that little note to the bank. So, also, guns are your best friend. We like guns. Second Amendment. Buy ammo. Buy rifles. Woo.
Man, amen.
Amen. So, yeah. The next thing is up. So, this comes from AP News. Japan's economy barely grows in the last quarter as exports slow, with 2025 expansion just 1.1%. Tokyo AP. Japan's economy expanded at an anemic 0.2 annual pace in the last quarter, the government reported Monday, with growth for all of 2025 at just 1.1%. Uh, Private consumption rose at 0.4% at an annualized pace in October through December, but that was offset by the 1.1 drop in exports. The latest seasonal adjusted preliminary data shows. Japan's export reliant economy has been shaken by President Donald Trump's tariffs, but has been growing at a lackluster pace for years. Prime Minister Sani Takaichi is expected to roll out policies to help revive the economy after a landslide victory in a general election earlier this month. Takaichi has promised to spend more and to suspend Japan's sale tax on food, among other measures. Japan's GDP contracted 0.7% in July through September, quarter to quarter, after growing 0.5% in April to June. Since the economy returned to growth in the latest quarter, the country narrowly avoided a technical recession, which is 2 straight quarters of contraction. On a quarterly basis, the economy grew 0.1% in October to December, the Cabinet Office reported. The 1.1% expansion last year was the fastest since 2022, when Japan was recovering from the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The government is projecting that the economy will expand at an average rate of about 0.6% in the near term. Now, I gotta get this out there, okay? If I had to guess, not even had to guess, I know this in my heart of hearts. Japan is our closest ally.
Hey,
Not
man.
Canada, not the UK, not Mexico, definitely not Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, not Australia. Japan is our
Japan.
biggest ally.
They always have been.
They always have been. So this is not just a problem for Japan. This is a problem for us.
For
I am
everyone.
for everyone. This will affect everything in your life more than oil.
More than oil. You don't understand.
Because I'm telling you guys, if this if like it's expanding for sure, but if it keeps expanding at such a slow rate, I'm probably not gonna get a third season of My Dress Up Darling, and I'm gonna be pissed.
We all will.
We all will. So, but Japan's quote barely growing quote economy refers to its domestic gross product stated stated in the article, which is the sum total of everything produced within its borders. Because total real income and total national output are essentially the same thing, looked at from different angles, stagnant growth implies that the standard of living for the population is not currently rising. International trade is vital for countries like Japan to achieve economies of scale, allowing them to sell products at prices that can compete globally. When exports slows, when exports slow, it suggests that Japan may be losing its comparative advantage in certain sectors or that global demand for its specific output has weakened. You all need to start watching more anime. That's the biggest problem. but
Hmm.
that's another thing. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think Japan imports like 90% of its food. That might be, and it's cool that she said that she's gonna suspend Japanese sales tax on food. Um, and they've already stated in the early in the article that a lot of this is from President Donald Trump's tariffs. Um, it's been the tariffs have been around for like a year, right? It's been about a year. So, as stated, Japan is our biggest ally. We have to help them. I'm normally against sending money.
20 trillion dollars.
Yeah, I'm normally against sending money to what's that one senator's name? I can't remember. I'm gonna look for it later. But we need to
Lots of them.
stop sending money to countries that hate us. Okay, Japan loves us, and we love Japan. You know what I mean? Like we've sent millions. We sent millions of dollars to NATO. We've given them our soldiers. Some of them have died for countries that hate us. I can't remember the last time those countries sent us 250 cherry blossom trees.
Hmm.
I can't remember it. The last time any country, if I'm mistaken, any country did anything for us was they gave us the Statue of Liberty. Thank you, France. That's the
It's
only
true.
thing you've done well. Um, so here are some things that we need to do. One, we need to lower our tariffs to and from Japan, or if at all possible, get rid of them. Japan specifically. We can put those tariffs somewhere else. I'm fine with that. Okay. Obviously, their economy is slowing up because of the tariffs. So, box lunch, all of them, and like Hot Topic and other Japanese kawaii stores. It's more expensive to import products because it's more expensive. Yu-Gi-Oh cards are more expensive now. Uh, so people aren't buying them as much. And also, we're hitting a recession, but we need to We need to send them money. We need to help them out, guys. Okay. I do think it does help that the FTC is threatening Visa and MasterCard. So now we can start getting that adult anime over some more. We can start purchasing adult anime. That's probably some of the most important stuff we got right now. What else can we do to help Japan?
Everything. Guys,
Yeah.
we're selling them all of California.
I'm fine with that, dude. If we need to find a way to get a bunch of bulldozers and carve out California and then carve out
Relocate.
Japan and just switch them around. We have the technology.
We
I'm
have
in the early 1900s we created the Panama Canal. You mean to tell me over 100 years later we can't figure out how to switch countries around? I don't believe it.
Come on now.
Government psyop. I don't believe it.
If that doesn't work, we'll deport all the Californians and import all the.
Exactly. Worst case scenario, but we still need to get Mount Fuji over here for sure.
Right.
We'll find a way.
We'll just dump it in the middle of the. We'll dump it in the middle of the. The valley in California. We'll put it right in the middle of the valley.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm down for that.
We'll call it.
Another thing, Japanese firms are heavily invested into. This is from Grok, but Japanese firms are heavily invested in the U.S. What is it? Recent 36 billion plus 73 billion in energy and SMRs, but more U.S. capital flowing into Japan could fund factories, tech upgrades, and infrastructure, creating jobs and spurring innovation in Japan's domestic economy. Exactly. We stated this earlier. Just send them money. Send them money in steaks and some revolvers. You know what I mean? That'll boost their Okay, that's a side note. I was talking to Kara about this earlier. But what we could do is we could set up a business. Okay, anyone who's thinking about starting a business, turn the headphones off for a second. So what we do is we set up a business in Nashville specifically for like Japanese people, and it's, quote, the American experience. So for a full day, you come in, we give you Levi jeans, you dress up as a cowboy, we give you revolvers and Henry repeaters. You go, you shoot guns. First you start out with the cowboy guns, you're playing the part. Then we start giving you like M60s and, full auto rifles and shotguns.
Oh yeah.
And then you end the day with like a super Texan barbecue and bonfire. Obviously it's a tourist attraction, but I think it could do well.
Call it the American dream.
Yeah, the American dream.
But it's a small planned neighborhood with white picket fences.
Yeah. So I thought, we were talking about it, we're like, that might be a good idea, but who knows? What else? According to this thing, encourage American companies to invest in Japanese sectors like semiconductors, AI, renewable. Yeah, guys, stop giving money to OpenAI. Start giving your money to Japanese AI, Japan AI. I've seen the anime they've made about our Congress. I kind of like it better. Advanced manufacturing, expand visa processing for U.S. business. All right, Visa, if you're listening. I know that's what they're talking about. But Visa, if you're listening, you take no money from Japanese transactions. No money. I feel like that'd help out a lot. Deep in track. Yep, so. Exactly. And we need to promote more tourism. We already have our plans, but we need to promote more tourism. There's no way around it, guys. Like, Japan is our closest ally. They're our biggest ally. They're practically our brothers and sisters. We need to help them just like we would help any other state. In fact, I'm pretty sure Japan could be the 51st state. So if we can get them in as fast as we can so we can start giving them liberal taxpayer dollars, that would be great. I'd prefer that. Amen. So, Trump, I'm sure you're listening. Get it done. But okay, so anyone who's So anyone who doesn't know, so you told me last night that there's like some giant cultural exchange happening on
Yeah,
X.
there's some breach of containment that happened on Twitter X.com on
Mm-hmm.
what is this month? Today is March. It was like March 28th, March 25th. No, March 20 like 7th. I think was probably the earliest where some algorithm changed, and Japanese Twitter was started getting promoted a ton to Americans and vice versa. And because Twitter has an auto translate function through their AI Grok, basically all the posts were in your native language. And as it turns out, the Japanese freaking love American cowboys and barbecue, especially, and like they love Americans and how much like they love the fact that we eat steak and brisket and all these huge like meat meals because they don't like that's just not super culturally common over there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I read it, and I granted it was auto translated, but it's like some Japanese dude was like the concept of eating meat every day or all the time, like, is astounding to
is
them.
mind-boggling.
And here I
Yeah,
am getting burgers from Burger King.
amen. And like, so they're like they were freaking out about like they're like, oh my gosh, real Americans talking about barbecue, and Americans like, oh my gosh, we know you guys love barbecue. And so there's been this
We love
big like
samurais
I
and
say bit, yeah,
anime.
right. I say there's like this little cultural exchange. I don't know how big it is. I don't know. Lots of the posts are getting anywhere between 1 and 40,000 likes. So whatever that translates to on that platform as far as size of engagement. Um, and like it's just been like 2 days, 3 days straight of just
Gushing over each
Japanese
other.
people and Americans just gushing over each other. Just we love you guys so much. We love you. And
Yeah,
so
it's
yeah,
that
that's where
one.
the Japanese market segment came in.
Yeah,
But we
so
will now be covering Japan in perpetuity.
yeah, and every segment's got to relate to Japan, and each full
Hmm.
episode will have one segment dedicated to Japan. So
We have
because
moved past being and if any of you cynical viewers think that we're being weebs, this is not weebery, okay? This is the true alliance of the ages. This is the cowboy and the samurai finally coming together as they were always destined to do.
yeah, it's no longer cowboys versus samurais; it's cowboys x
Hmm.
samurais. So
Hmm.
get
And
your
it's a hot romance.
yeah, stop being racist.
Start listening to that. Start listening to Made in
Yeah,
Japan.
start made in Japan. I can't stop. But Ines. All right.
It's city
But
pop from here on out, boys.
from here on out. All right. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Arigato.